The story kicks off when our MC, Misumi Makoto, wakes up in front of a god named Tsukuyomi, who tells Makoto that he is about to be transported to a different world as a hero as per his parents' contract. This baffles Makoto as he's never heard of said contract, to which Tsukuyomi apologizes for and tells Makoto that his parents were originally from a different world and agreed to give away one of their future children to be transferred to Japan. Seeing as one of his sisters will be the next target to be transported if he refuses, Makoto agrees to the transfer, but with an agreement for Tsukuyomi to first destroy his stash of racy magazines and to deliver a letter explaining the situation to his parents. Soon after, Makoto is quickly whisked away by an unnamed goddess. Unfortunately, on arrival, the goddess decides that Makoto is just too ugly to deal with and decides that she will find better looking heroes. She then gives Makoto the ability to communicate with non-human races to keep him away from what she calls her beautiful humans and drops him off to the barren edges of her world. Tsukuyomi quickly appears to save Makoto from falling to his death and explains to Makoto that he is inherently already quite powerful, and unlike in Japan, which is a world that constrains magic, this new world will allow Makoto free reign of his magic powers. With the last of his powers, Tsukuyomi blesses Makoto before going into a deep slumber. Makoto travels alone for several days until he meets a highland orc named Emma, who's being attacked by a monster. To both their surprise, Makoto is able to defeat the monster in one hit, which terrifies the orc. Makoto convinces Emma that he is friendly and discovers that Emma is actually on her way to sacrifice herself to the invincible Shen to save her village from famine. Makoto decides to help Emma and goes with her back to her village. Here, Makoto sees Emma using levitation magic and asks her to teach him magic. However, it is soon revealed that Makoto has a knack for magic and masters the fireball spell almost immediately. Seeing this, Emma gets excited and measures Makoto's level, expecting it to be very high. However, it is quickly revealed that despite his magical power, Makoto is only level 1. The next day, Makoto leaves the village to defeat Shen in hopes that Emma won't need to sacrifice herself. On arrival, he launches a fire arrow to warm up and accidentally wipes out a group of monsters who, unknown to Shen, was using her name to extort the orcs. However, the fire arrow also damaged the mountain, which annoyed Shen, who turns out to be a dragon. The two begin to fight, and initially Makoto easily overpowers Shen, but is soon trapped inside an illusion where Shen reads his mind. Makoto quickly realizes this and immediately breaks out of the illusion, but by this stage Shen is completely hooked on to Makoto's memories of Japanese historical dramas. The dragon quickly begs to enter a contract with Makoto so she can have more access to his memories. Makoto agrees and the dragon turns into a beautiful woman dressed in a samurai outfit. After the contract is formed, Shen brings Makoto into her demiplane, which is a world ruled over by herself. Unexpectedly to the both of them, Shen's demiplane has taken the form of a beautiful forest, similar to ones in the world Makoto came from. Makoto decides to head out to meet up with the orcs and explain the situation to them, but they quickly run into Emma, who is on her way to stop Makoto from fighting with Shen. However, upon realizing who the person with Makoto is, she quickly faints. Back in the village, the orcs launch a party to celebrate not needing to sacrifice any more of their people, and Shen suggests moving the whole village into her demiplane, where the land is more fertile. Makoto gets worried that the orcs might not be able to deal with any dangers in the demiplane. However, Shen creates a fragment of herself in the form of a little girl, who promises to protect the orcs in the demiplane. A few days later, the orcs appear to be settling down well, and Makoto continues to practice his magic, whilst to his embarrassment, Shen entertains herself with his memories. Soon, Shen decides to go and collect materials for a TV, and Makoto also heads out to help the orcs gather materials for their new village. Later, Makoto discovers that although he is incredibly powerful, he could not use healing magic on himself. It is then Shen returns with an unconscious dwarf and tells Makoto that a monster will soon be arriving at the demiplane following the scent of his blood. It is soon revealed that the monster is a giant psychotic spider who is eternally hungry and literally eats everything in its path. Makoto asks Shen for help, but she refuses with the excuse that she is carrying an injured dwarf and elects to stay on standby to protect the orcs instead. Makoto fights the spider and deals an immense amount of damage to it. However, the spider regenerates and seems to have taken a liking to the pain Makoto is causing it. Makoto is eventually backed into a corner and uses the rest of his magic to launch an all-out attack. However, However, this is still not enough as the spider regenerates. Shen charges in to protect Makoto, but is baffled when she sees that the spider has fallen in love with Makoto. Shen then convinces the spider to form a contract with Makoto while he's unconscious, which also turns the spider into a woman. Makoto wakes up and is surprised that the spider managed to form a contract with him without his consent. He tries to complain to Shen but fails miserably as Shen appears to be proud of being the one to suggest the contract in the first place. We are then introduced to Barren, the elder dwarf, who Shen saved earlier, and Barren makes a request to move his village into the demi-plane, which Makoto quickly agrees. Later, Makoto decides to name his companions at their request, and names Shen Tomoe and the spider Mio. The number of races and citizens in the demi-plane have increased dramatically without Makoto noticing, and soon he reluctantly agrees to become the young master of all races living in the demi-plane. The leader of the elder dwarves introduces himself to Makoto, and on account of his immense power, asks if Makoto is someone sent by the goddess, to which Makoto vehemently denies. Makoto decides to retrace the steps of his parents and begins to spend time traveling outside the demi-plane in search for a human settlement. However, the first person he meets runs away in fear, and later when Makoto tries to enter the village, he realizes he can't communicate with humans, and the villagers start attacking him for seemingly no reason at all. It is then that Makoto realizes the goddess had deliberately not given him the ability to speak the human language, and he runs away in frustration. Back in the demi-plane, Tomoe points out to Makoto that language isn't the main problem for him, which has Makoto believing that his face was ugly enough for an entire village to attack him on sight. Tomoe finds his concern hilarious and struggles to stop laughing until Makoto stops her. Tomoe then explains that Makoto is constantly releasing a crazy amount of mana which distorts his appearance and to humans makes him look like several demon kings. Emma suggests trying to hold back his mana, but this isn't very successful as it barely makes any difference at all. Determined to visit the village, Makoto decides to study the human language while asking the dwarves to make equipment that will contain his mana. The first week goes by and Makoto has learned to read and write the human language but still fails to speak it. By the second week, the dwarves have come up with a prototype to help contain Makoto's mana, even going as far to say that this ring may kill Makoto given how much mana it drains. However, we quickly see the prototype is unsuccessful as it breaks almost immediately when Makoto puts it on. The dwarf leaves, swearing that next time he'll make a ring that is capable of draining so much mana that it will definitely kill Makoto. A month later, Makoto is still struggling to speak the human language and decides that he will communicate by projecting words instead. The dwarves also finalize a ring that can contain Makoto's mana. Armed with new equipment, Makoto heads out to visit the village, but this time both Mio and Tomoe insist on following him. Our trio finally make it into the village but is seemingly noticed by a young girl at the gates. Makoto sees that everyone in the village is beautiful and laments how average his looks are. A cute receptionist welcomes the party at the Adventurers Guild where Makoto has decided to register. The guild measures the party's levels but struggles to find scrolls that are able to match up to Tomoe and Mio's levels, as the highest ranked adventurer in the area is only level 444. It is soon revealed that Tomoe's level is 1320 and to her dismay, Mio's level is 1500. The receptionist then points out that the next highest level adventurer in the entire guild is Sophia Bulga, the Dragon Slayer, who is level 920. The story is Sophia slayed a greater dragon named Lancer, who Tomoe knows of but doesn't seem to care much about. To everyone else's disappointment, Makoto's level is revealed to still be at level 1. The trio then set out to find a room to stay the night, but the only room available is well out of Makoto's price range, but Tomoe quickly haggles this down with her new status as an adventurer and a bit of violence. It is then they notice that everything in the village is extremely expensive. Makoto and Mio decide to head out for dinner, leaving Tomoe to guard the carriage as they notice people tailing them since entering the village. Soon we see the carriage is targeted by a group of thieves and both Mio and Makoto are distracted by a seemingly helpless girl. And with that, we've covered episodes 1 to 3 of the anime. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe as it really helps the channel. Thank you for watching until the end and have a great day.